Hello, I've got some news for everyone. That's why there's a Tuesday video. We've been told it's going to be within a month that we're going to be in France to sign for the house, so trying to get everything done here before I go. I wanted to give you a quick update on the seeds that I'd planted. The pot from 2 weeks ago, it's gone absolutely nuts. I've still got some poppies to plant. The seeds haven't quite come up, but I wanted to show you the weather we've been having. It's done nothing but rain. It's rained and rained and rained, and it's cold, and I don't know what to do. It's awful. I've got so much to do. We wanted to get done outside. The grass needs cutting. It's going nuts because of all the rain, and we've got so much to do before the end of the month, before we're off, hopefully for a month in France. But I wanted to show you some of the things that I've been up to try and get ahead of myself. Do you remember this chair? I picked it up for $5, and mostly using scraps, I turned it into a really nice little French bedroom chair. I've had it in the living room, but I've got it in the bedroom right now. This was made out of literally scraps. Well, I have this other one. I picked it up for $5, and I wanted to do a similar thing, and I wanted to share it with you to show you how, for very, very little money, you can achieve the look you're going for. Obviously, I'm going for a French country look again. You can see just roughly by the material behind. It's a very simple shape, so there's not too much intricate work to do on this. So it's easy to sort of make either a slip cover or to reupholster it. Now I'm leaving it the way it is because it's not in bad shape. I've given it a really good spray with a Febreze, just because it's not a new chair. And this piece of toile is something that I had used on my lampshades in the bedroom when I did my bedroom makeover. So I had a piece of that left over, and then I have lots of velvet because I always pick up velvet when I find it, but I've gone with the navy blue velvet that was left over from when I did my couch, when I recovered my couch. So I'm going to put the navy blue velvet on the main part, the seat part of the chair, with a band of toile around, and then the back of the chair is the toile, and then the back of the chair I'm going to put another piece of the navy blue velvet. These are just a few of the things. I've got scissors. I'm going to cover a couple of buttons and put them on. But I just wanted to show you for less than $10, probably $6 or $7 actually, not including my time. This took me less than a day to do. I do know what I'm doing. I'm making it up as I go along, but I have done a few before. So again, it's easy for me to say, but if you've got basics in sewing, then I think anyone can do this. I'm using staples, I'm using my sewing machine, and I'm also using a glue gun. So you can see I've got the piece of velvet just a little bit bigger than the actual top of the seat. Then I've got 3 pieces of the toile that I've joined together to fit the circumference of the chair. So I'm just going to run a stitch down each side and just make it like a band that's long enough to fit the whole width of the chair. I've pinned it to the top of the seat cover, which is the velvet, and I've cut it so it's about half an inch bigger than the actual surface of the chair. And then I've pinned it all, and then I'm going to run a stitch all the way around, so that it's almost like a little cover. It fits like a little cover for it. Once that's done, then I'm going to take the excess and staple it underneath the chair. I used a Stanley electric stapler, and I used the 3/4 inch staples. Actually were a little long. I used the smaller ones, which were 5/16. So that's what I used on this job, and they work perfectly well. So once the pieces were sewn together for the base, you can see what I did was I got some pins and just pinned everything in place onto the existing cushion. This just holds it all in place so that it doesn't move around while you're stapling. Now there was a little bit of a detail, like a little raise in the front of the chair, so you just have to be careful if there's anything like that. But other than that, you're just running your stapler all the way around on the hardboard frame, the wooden frame. You're just trying to keep your line of sewing as straight as possible. When you get to the corners, you're just cutting it slightly, folding it up, and you'd make any folds or gathers at the corners where the legs attach to the chair, just because it's a natural place to stop. So you can see once the staples are in, I remove the pins and everything's just stayed in place. It's just a matter of pinning the material to the chair to keep it in place while you're stapling, and then everything looks straight and finished. Now onto the back of the chair, I've taken the material, centered the pattern on the chair so that when you look at the chair, the pattern is central, it's not crooked, and then I've done again the same again with the pins. I've pinned the material into place while I'm stapling, and what I'm doing is it's almost like wrapping a present. So I'm just covering the front and the sides of the back of the chair, and then the excess material on the back I'm going to be cutting off, because I'm going to be placing a piece of velvet on the back which will cover up all the staples and the mess that's left on the back once you've finished stapling. You can see how the pins hold the material in place, and it's perfect then for stapling. Again, once I've finished stapling, I'll pull the pins, cut the excess material, I keep saying access and it's excess material, sorry about that, and then this is what I've done underneath the chair. So it's all been stapled, it's all nice and tight and in place, and you're just going back in and you're taking away the excess material, and then I'm going to place a piece of velvet on top of that so that should the chair get turned over, it all looks nice and finished. Now I did have a little bit of difficulty with some of the staples. If I didn't press extremely hard, they didn't go in all the way. Now that's not an issue, you can always go back with a small hammer and hammer them down, but if they are protruding quite a lot or they just don't go in properly, just pop them back out again. I use a little knife that I have at hand, and then make sure that they're in properly or hammered down. It just protects the chair, and once you're sitting on it, it's going to hold everything in place, and the staples aren't going to pop out if they're not completely secure. So here we are, we're moving on to the back of the upright of the chair. And so what I've done is I've taken a piece of velvet, I've cut it about half an inch bigger than the actual size of the back of the chair. I've given it a little bit of a turn in, and then I've taken the pins and pinned it into place again. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to glue this piece on. So I'll leave the corner pin in, take the next two pins out, run a bead of glue, and as I go I'll unpin as I glue. This keeps it all nice and taut, keeps it all in place, and then afterwards I go over the corners with a little bit of glue. This is what I've done here, so I've gone all the way around. So I'm going to take a little bit of glue and just glue underneath the line of the velvet, so in there, and then I'm going to press it down, and you have the back of the chair is completely finished, and you don't have any pins, you don't see the glue, it's finished. Now you can add trim to this if you want to. I didn't think it needed it. I think it looked quite good without the trim on it. But you can go over it afterwards with the trim. Now this is the underside of the chair, and I've just taken an extra piece of the velvet. It doesn't have to be a good piece, you know, nobody's really going to see this. This is just to finish things off and make it look more finished. Like I said, nothing looks worse than all the scraggly pieces that you can see. So we're just folding over the piece of material. I've run a bead of glue, and you can see I'm just now running my hand across and sticking the material to the chair and covering up the bottom. It's really straightforward, and it's a finishing touch that just makes it look so much better. So we're all but finished. I did decide to add some fringe. I really liked the way I'd finished off my ottoman with the blue and the red. So, excuse me, I've added a piece of red trim the full circumference of the bottom of the chair. And then I've gone over that with the blue fringe. I've just glued one on top of the other, and then once it's done, I've pulled the string on the fringe and it's finished. So tell me what you think of the finished article, which cost me, like I said, probably about $7. Dudley is waiting to climb onto this chair. I had to keep him off because he's just, every time I make something or reupholster something, he has to be the first person to lay on it. But I think you'll agree with me. It's a $5 chair. I could have sanded down the legs, repainted it, but I just wanted to prove that for very little time and effort and very little money, it saved something from the landfill. It's reused materials that, were just left over. They're little pieces of material that's just enough to do, to piece together something that looks half decent. And it's very usable in my house because it's the material that I have existing. It goes well with the bedroom. It goes well with any French country scheme, I think you'll agree. And it could be in any colour, any material that you have. And again, it's kept this item out of the landfill. I've used bits of material that, are saved from the garbage, and it does look half decent and is something that can be used for quite a few years now. And when I'm finished with it, or if I decide I don't need it, somebody else is going to get the use out of this. And like I said, it has saved it from the landfill and shows that things that are older and well made can be reused. So I hope you enjoyed that bonus video. I know Dudley's going to enjoy that chair as soon as I turn around and stop videoing.